Things started out okay going into the weekend, but then the Jackets just let it all go away with that loss to the Capitals, and now they are back behind the eight ball. We'll talk about how they get out of this rut today on Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Hayden Heilshorn. With me is my co-host, Jay Foster. We are here to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of your favorite team and ours, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get going, thank you so much to the everydayers for making this your first listen every day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms. We're free right here on YouTube and the SiriusXM app. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Jackets with a 2-1 loss in Washington on Saturday night. It was disappointing because I thought the Jackets actually played a good game, Jay. I thought the Jackets played well, and the Washington Capitals are a team that they should be beating this year, or at least if the Jackets are going to find themselves in the playoffs, Jay, it feels like they need to be beating teams like the Washington Capitals. You watch that game, I feel like I'm pretty optimistic still, even though that was 100% a game the Jackets should have gotten points in. I still feel optimistic about this team, and I'll explain why in just a second. But what were your thoughts watching the Blue Jackets just kind of let an opportunity to get some points slip through their fingers last night?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that, sometimes a goalie just has a game. You know, we've been on the other side of that before. Charlie Lindgren, for whatever reason, was just fully on one. He had his Wheaties on Saturday. I counted, I think, 3 or 4 A-plus saves that should absolutely have been goals, and I don't know how he got to them. So, it's a frustrating loss. It was, again, another wobbly second period from the Blue Jackets. I thought Elvis was excellent again. Let me just pull up his numbers real quick. He made 26 or 25 of 27 saves, excuse me. So absolutely nothing wrong with the goaltending. Again, both of those goals were friendly fire, really. One of them went off Zach Werenski's stick. The second goal, I don't know what Provorov and Jiricek were doing, but they just fully forgot about Sonny Milano, which, by the way, I know I don't get any points for not predicting the score or the goal scorer, but I do feel like I deserve some spiritual points for predicting the Sonny Milano goal. But yeah, I agree. I like the way the Blue Jackets played. I'm still a little worried about the play of some of the guys, but for the most part, and this is something I've kind of been thinking for the last couple of games, is you can see them figuring out, okay, we didn't do this very well, so next game, we're going to do that better. And, you know, we're going to talk about the Johnny Gaudreau benching in a little bit, but I have some thoughts on that and how I think that might actually end up being a good thing. So, I have no real problems with how this team played beyond the fact that they couldn't figure out how to score a goal. Well, they scored 1 goal. Shout out to Dmitry Voronkov, who now has as many goals as Alex Ovechkin has this season. But just a really annoying loss. I can't remember what the last game that I was thinking about this was, but for example, the Islanders game where they couldn't get past Varlamov. A similar game. The Blue Jackets didn't play badly. Sometimes you just run into a goalie that's having a really good game, and I feel like Charlie Lindgren was one of those goalies. So annoying, not the end of the world. I'm saying this to myself as much as anyone else. Please calm down. It's fine.
Yeah, Charlie Lindgren, kind of a wild card. He has a right-hand glove, which I think is, I don't know if that throws off shooters. I've heard it does the same way a lefty pitcher throws off, same way a lefty quarterback throws off in football. So I guess maybe that's possibly an excuse why the Blue Jackets were not able to do anything with their 35 shots. Obviously, the one that did get through was just another nice play by Dmitry Voronkov to be in the right area to get that goal. So that line stays hot. I guess that's why that's kind of like part of the excitement I'm taking out is like some younger players are looking good. Voronkov is definitely looking good. Marchenko starting to find his groove again, which is all right. We'd like to see him score more goals, obviously. Igor Chinikov was just buzzing out there. That dude was a man on a mission last night, and it was to prove that he absolutely belongs in the lineup. Another guy that didn't play exactly the same way that Chinikov played was Johnny Gaudreau. As you alluded to, he was benched in that third period. He actually sat the final 16 minutes of the game, which immediately to me, I'm like, that's unacceptable. Johnny Gaudreau needs to be on the ice in the final 16 minutes of the game. The guy he starts so much offense for Columbus. He's one of the only players that can truly carry it through the neutral zone and create a chance like every single time. But this quote from Pascal Vincent, he said, "Tonight, I felt like he wasn't there. We're going to play the guys who are playing. It doesn't matter who you are." Blue Jackets coach Pascal Vincent. That was his quote on that. So we're going to play the guys who are playing. And Johnny Gaudreau just must not have been playing in that game last night. I don't know. Until he starts ripping off goals, Jay, I don't think the fans are going to really notice Johnny Gaudreau out there. But I just feel like when I do watch him, he's still creating so much offense for the team. And he must not have been last night is the thing. And I think he'll be back in the lineup on tonight against the Panthers. So nothing to obviously worry about there other than Pascal Vincent does have a hold of this team and he is keeping them accountable, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. This is what this is what fans wanted from Brad Larson for the last 2 years, is they wanted accountability. They wanted some kind of what's the word I want? Some kind of like cohesive message. And again, I've been saying it all season. I really like Pascal Vincent as a coach. I like how he handles the team. I don't necessarily think Johnny Gaudreau had a real bad game last night. He wasn't creating as much offensively as he usually does. But I also want to just kind of remind people he did miss practice on Friday, I believe it was. He didn't travel with the team to Washington. He flew in later because of a personal matter. So I am wondering, and obviously, I don't want to speculate on exactly what's going on, but Johnny Gaudreau hasn't looked like himself this season, and I'm wondering if there's something going on there, whether it's family, whether it's health, whether it's something like that. We haven't seen the Johnny Gaudreau that we know he can be, and I'm wondering what's going on there, basically. So I'm not worried necessarily that Johnny Gaudreau is washed or overpaid or coasting on like one good season with the Flames or whatever. I am kind of worried that something's going on off the ice, because obviously that's what's important is his personal life and his family and everything. But yeah, I also expect him to play against the Panthers, and frankly, the results we've seen after Pascal Vincent sitting guys have been good. We've talked about it. Damon Severson got benched in, what was it, the second or third game of the season?
Yeah, against the Red Wings, yeah. Game 3.
Against the Red Wings, and he has been excellent since then. Kirill Marchenko missed a couple of games and scored in his first game back. And then I think he's on a 2-game scoring streak, a 2-game point streak since his healthy scratch. He had an assist last night with Voronkov's goal. Kent Johnson, obviously sent down to Cleveland. We talked about how that's not a bad thing on Saturday's episode, I believe, or maybe Friday's episode. I don't understand how time works anymore. He had 3 assists this weekend for the Cleveland Monsters, and there's a couple of quotes that I want to actually, while we're talking about Kent Johnson, there's a couple of quotes that I want to pull up regarding him and to kind of maybe put people at ease a little bit. So there's one from Mark Scheig, who I believe works for the Hockey Writers. Yes. And he said, Ken Johnson, on the way the Blue Jackets communicated things to him. I think they did a good job communicating. I know I'm an important part of this franchise. I'm going to keep working. I really believe in myself. I think I'll be fine. Ken Johnson is not... Don't worry. Don't worry about Ken Johnson. He's going to... if I had to guess, my guess is he's going to tear up the AHL and come back better, stronger. I know they talked about how they want him to get like physically stronger. He's got a conditioning plan in place. He works hard in the gym. He's just one of those guys who I'm extremely jealous of because he just can't seem to put weight on and keep it on. And speaking as someone who stopped working out basically over COVID and never went back, like I'm very jealous of that. But my point here is, players are responding to Pascal Vincent in a way that I don't know they ever responded to for Brad Larson. So to wrap up my kind of overly complicated segue of many times, Johnny Gaudreau is going to be fine. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if he has a monster game against the Panthers tonight.
7 wins in the last 8 games for the Cleveland Monsters. That's all I'll say. And yeah, there seems to be a lot of players right now that Blue Jackets fans are just worried about. Like, what's happening to Johnny Gaudreau? What's happening to Ken Johnson? When is Patrick Laine coming back? Who is Daniil Tarasov? Who is this guy we keep talking about? Like, when are they going to get him? The Blue Jackets don't have all of their weapons right now, and that's okay. More thoughts on Johnny Gaudreau, actually, that I have, and we'll talk a little bit more about the ongoing Ken Johnson situation in just a moment on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I want to tell you guys about the good partners at Game Time. These guys are so awesome because I buy a lot of tickets to events, a lot of tickets to sporting games, and ever since I started using the Game Time app, I have just thrown all my worries out the window because you shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to a game or a concert or a show. Game Time is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, all music, comedy, and theater events near you with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat when you're right there on the app, scrolling through, trying to find a good price. You're going to get their best price guaranteed. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. I mean, last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals. It's easy to find and buy tickets to every kind of event in your area. Views from your seats, like I said, lowest price guaranteed. Easy event cancellation protection, and it's just a great app to buy tickets. So just get rid of all those other apps you have. Download the Game Time app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, the Blue Jackets have lost 5 of their last 6 games, Jay. They're letting opportunities against teams slip away here. We usually Elvis is the scapegoat in this, right? Like, it's just like you say, oh, well, the team, we got all these good shooters out there. Elvis is playing bad. It's wrong. This year, the Blue Jackets are not finding goals. And I don't know who to blame because I feel like when I watch this Blue Jackets team, they seem to be playing disciplined hockey. Like, they're playing fast. They might not necessarily be playing together all the time, but they're creating chances. They're just not finding the back of the net. So I don't know. I mean, make me feel a little bit better on this situation. Do you still feel confident in the system that Pascal Vincent has? Do you still feel confident that these veterans, like we've talked about, Johnny Gaudreau, Boone Jenner, like Boone Jenner hasn't scored in a while. Johnny Gaudreau is second on this team in shots on goal, and he only has 1 goal on an empty net situation. So is it on the veterans? Is it on Pascal Vincent to change things up? What do the Jackets need to do to get out of this little rut they're in right now?
I think getting Patrick Laine back will help. To kind of answer your first question, I'm not worried about the systems because, like you said, the Blue Jackets are generating offense. It's not like, and maybe this is because I've been watching the San Jose Sharks a lot since I'm still out in California. Like, there is such a difference between watching a team play well and lose and watching a team just give up before the game has even started. It's been a real tough time for the San Jose Sharks. 20 goals allowed in their last 2 games. The Blue Jackets look like a team playing in a completely different league. The short answer to this is no, I'm not worried. The slightly longer answer is they need to figure out the power play, and they need to do it soon, because you've brought in this Hall of Fame coach, Mark Recchi, who is supposed to, overhaul the power play. And for the most part, I get it. Patrick Laine's not there. He's a big part of the power play. Your power play should be scoring more goals. I don't remember the last power play goal that this team scored. They're currently 26th in the league. Luckily, the penalty kill continues to be great. They moved up to 8th in the league after the game against the Capitals. But, that power play needs to start doing something, and fast, because that's where you're not scoring goals. I don't know that I have Blue Jackets special teams stats.
Their power play percentage is 12.8 on the year, which is 28, 27, 26th in the league.
Yeah, so it's not good enough. The pieces that you have for this power play should be doing way better than they are. I'm trying to find how many power play goals that they've scored, and I can't do that, so it's fine. I'll figure that out later. We'll move on.
5. They've scored 5.
They've scored 5 power play goals.
Yeah, that's not
okay.
good enough.
And so they've scored in total so far this season 28 goals. So 23 goals at 5-on-5. If they get the power play going, this team might take off, because they're playing good defensively. The goaltending is excellent. The offense has completely disappeared. I'm interested to see what it's going to look like against Florida, because the lines that they have at the minute, I don't think are working. And I'm just going to pull up what the lines looked like. Again, best line last night was Voronkov, Fantilli, Marchenko.
Fantilli's good with everybody, though.
Right. Gaudreau, Roslovic was not great. Chinikov, Sillinger, Bemstrom wasn't great. Texier, Corrali, Danforth was fine. I actually really like that 4th line. So you need to do something about the Sillinger line and the Jenner line, and whether that's move Chinikov up and Jack Roslovic down, whether that's Johnny Gaudreau goes down to the second line, or I don't know what the answer is here, but I'm interested to see what Pascal Vincent does. On a kind of only semi-related note, how nice is it to talk about this team and not talk about how the defense is a mess? Because I believe they've been playing the same pairs and the same 6 defensemen since Werenski came back from injury in game 4.
Yes, it's been mostly the same. I know Gabranson and Bean have played a lot together, which as a third-line D pair has been pretty awesome. I'm not even saying Eric Gabranson's having a great season, because it's obviously he's got a long way to go, and Blue Jackets fans felt like, I say Blue Jackets, me and you and everybody, I guess.
You were real mean to him in the season preview. Yes. I'll just say that.
We were mean to guys. I was specifically mean to Eric Gabranson, and I feel like he's not even playing better. He's just playing good. He's playing good. And you've said it forever, just he needed less minutes, and that's been really great for him. And then we've seen we saw Yurchek and Provorov last night, and then it's been Severson and Werenski. Yeah, I think I've been fine with the D pairings so far. I thought that was going to be the biggest rotating door for Columbus this year. Because you got Boquist, Blankenberg, you got all these other guys. Stanislav Svozil deserves some time. I thought it was going to be a rotating door there, Andrew Peak, but it hasn't been. It's been really solid.
Yeah. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, Yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I don't know, man. am in the camp of it's going to work itself out eventually. And if you're anything, speaking of Chinakhov, there's anything that is going to be happening to him, it's going to be him playing in the top 6, maybe even on the top line tonight against the Panthers, simply because if he's practicing the way that he played in that Washington game, which we know Pascal Vincent is huge on how the effort that players are bringing to practice, if he practices the way that he played in that Washington game, he is going to be fine. I mean,
I thought Chinakhov was a real standout.
Yeah.
In Saturday's game, which for a guy that hadn't played in, I think he said 7 months in the post-game interview, he hadn't played in the NHL, like, comes to the AHL, scores 3 goals in 3 games, comes up to the NHL and doesn't look like he's missed time at all, which is really great to see.
That's outstanding. It's outstanding for him. All right, let's move on. Blue Jackets have lost, what did I say, 5 in the last 6. That's not good enough. They need to find a way to get some points in Florida tonight. We will talk about this game in just a moment on Locked On Blue Jackets. Next, I want to tell you guys about FanDuel Sportsbook, because you can score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. Guys, don't waste this great opportunity. Sports gaming became legal in Ohio this year. FanDuel was the first app that I jumped on. I jumped on a whole bunch of other apps, and just nothing truly stuck out to me like America's #1 sportsbook and FanDuel. Again, right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. Just bet on any team to win. That's $150 if your team wins. It's a great deal. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's truly no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. All right, Jackets in Florida tonight at 7 o'clock, obviously going against their former 2-time Vezina winner, Sergei Bobrovsky, who amazingly took this Florida Panthers team 5 games deep into the Stanley Cup final last year. That was such an awesome run for Blue Jackets fans, I feel like, because that's kind of all we have is to root for former Blue Jackets and guys that may have left on a somewhat decent note. I would say with what Sergei Bobrovsky accomplished in Columbus, fans still adore him tremendously. I think number 72 is the next name to go up in the rafters when he retires eventually. But anyways, let's talk about the Florida Panthers, because they are having some struggles of their own. So I was just looking at it, Jay. They are up there in terms of shots per game. In fact, they are 4th in the NHL in shots per game. But they've only had 5 power play goals, just like the Jackets have. They are on a 13% power play conversion. The Jackets are at 12%. So what that tells me, Jay, is that they're peppering goalies and they're getting a lot of opportunities in 5-on-5. They are just struggling to cash them in, just like the Jackets have. So this could be a good matchup for Columbus. And if you look at where Florida's at in the standings, 5-4-1, not necessarily ran out after having a trip to the Stanley Cup final. They didn't sprint out of the gates. They were a wild card team last year, so it's kind of like they've kind of, settled with being, number 3 or 4 in the Atlantic Division. But they're a fast team. They can score. They can shoot. What do the Blue Jackets need to do to steal some points out of this one tonight?
I mean, it goes back to the penalty kill. The power play, excuse me. I was looking at the Panthers penalty kill stats, and then my brain just started talking. The Panthers have the 26th best penalty kill in the league, so not great. The Blue Jackets need to convert there. The Panthers are real weird this season. I was looking at what their scoring has been like. Matthew Tkachuk is having a slow start for him. He's got 9 points in 10 games, only 2 goals. Alexander Barkov is doing Barkov things. Their leading scorer right now is Sam Reinhart, who has 8 goals in 10 games. But they're not getting anything from Sam Bennett, who has been injured most of the season. They're missing Aaron Ekblad. They're missing Brandon Montour, their two best defensemen. So they're not scoring goals. They are getting excellent goaltending from Sergei Bobrovsky. He's got a .913 save percentage and a shutout. They are 8th in the league in goals against. So, like, honestly, the Blue Jackets they probably won't face Anthony Stolarz, actually, because he played last night on Saturday night against the Blackhawks, which he lost. So they probably will face Bobrovsky. But the Blue Jackets are going to have to figure out a way to figure out Bobrovsky, because at the minute I'm willing to give them kind of the benefit of the doubt in terms of sometimes you just run into a hot goalie. If they keep running into goalies that look incredible, then we might start having a problem. You know, eventually this offense that you're generating has to convert. It's real easy to sit here and be like, well, they might not be scoring, but they're getting good chances, and so it'll balance out in the end. Like they're reaching that point where I'm like, okay, if they keep running into hot goalies, maybe the goalie is not what's happening here, you know?
Yes. I mean, we've talked about Reimer, Varlamov, Charlie Lindgren. Like, these guys aren't Vezina candidates.
They let
that
James
are
Reimer shut them out. Like,
Yes. Like, it's
and
getting ridiculous.
Bobrovsky is in a different league to all of those guys. I think he is a genuinely excellent goalie who has figured it out after a couple of bad years in Florida. But they need to figure him out, man. They need to figure him out. They need to shut down that top line. They need to not let Sam Reinhart score any goals. And they need to figure out the power play. Like, that might be the biggest thing for me, is they need to get the power play clicking, and they need to get it soon.
You know what I'd love to see tonight? I'd love to see Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk just drop the gloves. I don't know why.
God,
I know they were.
Johnny Gaudreau would never. Are
He
you
would never drop
kidding?
the
He's
gloves.
so little, and I think he and Tkachuk are still pretty close. I think. Which
I think
do
Tkachuk
enjoy.
would
I
let
like it
him
when
have
players
some.
like being friends, but
I was gonna say, I feel like Tkachuk probably looks at Johnny and is like, thinks Johnny's like the coolest dude in the world because he
for
was,
sure.
kind of the
He
young
would
guy.
never, yeah.
And I feel like he wouldn't touch Johnny, but Johnny would just like unleash all of his frustration about this year so far with Columbus on Matthew Tkachuk's face, and then they would have a big hug afterwards. That's really what I want to see. No, that's not going to happen. I was still surprised Panarin ever even dropped the gloves in a Blue Jackets uniform, but since he did it, I kind of feel like anybody can actually do it. So We'll see, though. We'll see. All right, let's do some predictions in this one. I will let you go first here because I've been going first quite a bit and have been failing. So,
oh man, let's see. I am gonna go with a 4-2 Jackets win. I'm just gonna keep predicting that they win until they do, because it makes me feel better. A 4-2 Jackets win, and I'm gonna go ahead and put Gaudreau as the goal scorer because I that's the vibe I get. Again, he got his first goal in the win against
Tampa
Bay. Thank you. Yeah, it was an empty netter, but sometimes that's all you need. I'm expecting a big game from Johnny Gaudreau after the benching. We've seen what a response to Pascal Vincent's quote-unquote discipline looks like. So I think that's what I'm going to go with. 4-2, including an empty netter, which, as we all know, doesn't count. So basically a 3-2 win. Johnny Gaudreau, goal scorer. How about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna say this one gets high scoring, and I'm gonna actually say it's a Blue Jackets 5-4 win. I think they open it up in this one. I feel like
you're taking the over.
I'm gonna take the over. I just feel like you have to whenever the Florida Panthers are involved, and I'm sure I'm gonna be severely disappointed. But I mean, if the Jackets get out with a 2-1 win, I'm not gonna be crying. So I want the Jackets to win. I just think because you took a 4-2 game, I'll take a 5-4 game, a little bit tighter but higher scoring. And I think the guy that had 5 shots on goal Saturday night that led the Blue Jackets, Igor Chinakhov, I think he's going to get a goal because I feel like, 4 points in 3 games with the Monsters this year, came out and just was the fastest dude on the ice, I felt like, in DC. So if he brings that same energy to South Beach, he's going to get a goal. And I might honestly just pick him until he gets it because I have a huge streak right now of I pick a guy, they don't score, they score the next game. So here we go. But yeah, that's about all we have for you guys. It should be a fun one. It should be. If the Jackets beat the Florida Panthers on the road, and then they play the Panthers, and then they come home Thursday and play the Stars. If they get like 3 out of 4 possible points in this 2-game stretch, I'm going to be right back in on like this team can be in the playoffs. They can accomplish all that we want them to accomplish, but they have a good 2-game stretch here to kind of prove their worth. So we'll see. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Tomorrow we'll be breaking down the result of the Blue Jackets-Panthers game. As always, thank you so much to the Everydayers for making this podcast possible. You can find us on Twitter you can find me on Twitter at HaydenH971. Jay is on there as well at _JAKOBFORSTER. The show is on Twitter at LO_Blue Jackets. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please direct those to lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. Thank you once again for listening, and until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.